meeting of the Amherst Township Trustees called to order. Please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call: Abraham.
Here.
Lynch.
Here.
Urick.
Yes.
And Chris is absent tonight. Amherst Township meeting minutes from October 27th, 2020. Regular meeting of the Amherst Township Trustees. Meeting was called to order at 7:10 p.m. by Chairman Lynch. Pledge to the flag. Roll call: Lynch, Urick, Kish present. Absent was Abraham. Attending R. Cerrone, Case Marsh, G. Lynch, and C. Cerny. Motion 10, 11, 20 by Urick, seconded by Lynch, to approve the minutes of the October 13th, 2020 special meeting as read. Roll call: all ayes. 10, 12, 20, motion by Lynch, second by Urick, to approve the minutes of the October 13th, 2020 regular meeting as corrected. Roll call: all ayes. 10, 13, 20, motion by Lynch, second by Urick, move to approve the September 2020 credit card account transaction details has been reviewed per policy and is accepted as presented subject to investigation. Roll call: all ayes. 10, 14, 20, motion by Lynch, second by Urick, move to approve the bills and financial reports with reservations. Roll call: all ayes. 10, 15, 20, motion by Lynch, second by Urick, accepting the amounts and rates as determined by the Budget Commission and authorizing the necessary tax levies and certifying them to the county auditor. Revised Code Section 5705.34 to 35. Roll call: all ayes. See addendum. 10, 16, 20, motion by Lynch, second by Urick, expenditures of CARES Act funds for remote monitoring, surveillance and enforcement of Township Recycling Center to eliminate personnel interaction between public and employees during COVID pandemic. Roll call: all ayes. See addendum. Trustee Lynch noted that Sandstone Joint Ambulance District community members and Life Care Ambulance Incorporated Coronavirus Relief Sub-Grant Agreement has been passed through all three communities. Trustee Abraham will handle getting the signatures for the agreement. Trustee Lynch noted that the CARES Act expenditure spreadsheet shows that the funds estimated are higher than the funds that we have received and that was anticipated. This is a working document, and funds earmarked for the fire services will be adjusted up or down depending on the other expenditures. The expenditure for the vehicle may not happen, and those dollars would be used elsewhere. Trustee Lynch presented a Treasury report that indicates that vehicle purchases made with CARES Act funds could be tightly looked at during the next audit. Trustee Lynch also presented a spreadsheet on the Park Pavilion project cost estimates. There were no audience concerns or correspondence. Zoning report: 10 new permits this month, 2 new homes. Year-to-date total: 12 new homes. Zoning Commission will be holding a meeting for a design review on Tuesday, November 3rd, 2020 at 6:30 p.m. Roads, Parks, and Cemetery: leaf pickup in both parks and cemeteries. Pavilion done except for the work of spreading topsoil and grass seed. Tree trimming on roadsides. Barnes will provide an estimate for grinding that will take place at the end of November. OPWC applications turned in today to the Lorain County engineer. Doing maintenance projects on vehicles in-house. Phase 2. Trustee Lynch received nothing new from Pete Zawick regarding planning for the next Lorain County Stormwater District grant application due March 31st, 2020. Complaints are being handled by the designated individual. Old business, trustee Lynch noted he would work through the Lorraine County Township Association to encourage the Lorraine County Commissioners to change solid waste grant funding from a reimbursement grant to direct community funding based upon recycling rates. Also, the required MOU should be part of the funding application versus after county commissioner approval to improve process efficiency. Trustee Lynch requested Trustee Urick as the Township Solid Waste District Policy Representative to discuss these changes with the Lorraine County Solid Waste District Policy Committee. Trustee Lynch noted that there will be a work session with the trustees and Amherst City and fire officials regarding occupancy permits and how they relate with commercial building inspector on Thursday, October 29th, 2020 at 7 a.m. at the Township Hall. 10-17-20, motion by Lynch, second by Urick. Move to enter into executive session at 8:16 p.m. according to ORC sections 121.22G1 to discuss the appointment, employment, dismissal, discipline, promotion, demotion, or compensation of a public employee or official, or the investigation of charges or complaints against a public employee, official, licensee, or regulated individual, unless the public employee, official, licensee, or regulated individual requests a public hearing. Roll call, all ayes. 10-18-20, motion by Lynch, second by Urick. Move to return from executive session at 8:47 p.m. Roll call, all ayes. The next regular Board of Trustee meeting will be Tuesday, November 10th, 2020 at 7 p.m. at the Amherst Township Hall. Reminder regarding the work session on Thursday, October 29th, 2020 at 7 a.m. at the Township Hall. 10-19-20, motion by Urick, second by Lynch. Move to adjourn at 8:49 p.m. Roll call, all ayes.
Okay, are there any changes or corrections to the October 27th meeting minutes?
I have none.
Okay, then I'll make a motion to approve as presented.
I'll second.
Roll call, Lynch,
Yes.
Urick,
Yes.
Abraham. Abstain.
Okay, you have the payment listing and the appropriation and revenue status in front of you. I think the main thing on the payment listing is just the follow-up here as far as taxes and PRS paid for payroll. That's already been paid out. Predominantly, this would be the road department. And also the other thing to point out on the appropriation summary, if you look at the special fund that's been created to maintain the expenditures of the CARES Act funding, it's $42,457 and some odd cents that have been spent so far. The vast majority of that was the open air pavilion.
How much is that total?
So far, what's been spent out of the CARES Act fund was $42,000, let me get back there, Denny, $42,457.31. This is just what's been actually spent so far and approved and gone through as of November 9th. You know, some of the other items, as Chris gets back into this, will get moved. She's actually going to have to transfer some from some funds the way it was spent. And we've got the other large items still to come in, which include, you know, the meeting presentations we've got here, the work from home, and then what Kevin's working on the project right now for the recycling yard surveillance. You know, again, to try and keep the separation between the employees and the public and minimize those interactions until we get through this pandemic as much as possible. Do you have any other questions from you, David, on these?
No.
and I'm going to make a motion to approve the financial reports and pay the bills as presented with reservation.
Second.
Lynch,
Yes.
Burek,
Yes.
Abraham.
Yes.
You didn't have anything else there from Chris and or Linda. Okay, and I neglected to mention earlier, Georgianne, that our fiscal officer, Chris Kish, which I think everyone knows isn't here because of family illness. I do want to note, so I don't forget, which I hope I won't, when we get the roads, we do have a resolution in here, a prepared resolution to put the road levy on the next ballot. Okay, and that's obviously something you're going to be interested in seeing happen. Okay, and we have no audience here, which, boy, I think this is a first in a long time. So we'll skip the welcome. Correspondence, David?
I have nothing to bring forward at this time.
Okay, Denny?
Nothing.
All right. We'll move on, but I just want to mention we are going to have an executive session. Our legal counsel, Jerry Ennis, will be joining us by phone, though, because he couldn't, with the timing, be here in person. So hopefully we can get the speakerphone up loud enough where people participating can hear. Okay, reports, ambulance, Denny?
Nothing under ambulance
Okay.
service.
Zoning, Remy?
Just 2 permits for the month. We're still at 12 houses for the year, 12 new houses. The design review that was scheduled was continued, and it would be happening on December the 1st. Will be the rescheduled hearing.
And that would be at 6:30?
Correct,
December 1st.
December the 1st. I do believe that's the first Tuesday.
All right, any questions for Remy? All right, our fire prevention officer isn't here, but if you look in your report, the next document, the trustees did hold a work session on October 29th in the early morning. We did have our fire prevention officer there. Chief Wilhelm from the Amherst Fire Department was there. Mayor Koslow was there for most of it. Our legal counsel, Jerry Ennis. Myself and David Urig. Then Chris Kish came in later. We knew she'd be late, just as we knew the mayor had to leave early. This is one where Denny would organize the meeting, but then at this point in time, he couldn't make the meeting. So I tried to summarize this. It's very bullet point, Denny, so that you'd have it, since this is the project you're working on as far as coordinating the occupancy permits for all of our current businesses in the township, since we now have a new fire prevention officer. And we've since then found that there's many of the businesses, whether they've been lost or whether it's just because businesses change hands, also the type of business in there changes, and there should have been new occupancy permits and they're not there. But ultimately, the 3 key action items that came out of there was that first, the fire prevention officer is going to provide the township business a list to Amherst Township of the businesses, identifying which ones have the occupancy permit, which ones don't. I know, Remy, you've worked with them in locating the ones that we could find. So Chris already has the updated list of here's all the businesses that have an occupancy permit, the right occupancy permit for the type of business that's there. But he's also going to provide the list of who doesn't have a permit or where the type of business has changed at that particular property. And then, since there's no way we can take all of this at once, we're talking quite a few businesses here, is our fire prevention officer will give a priority listing of the businesses that he thinks we should work on first to get this cleaned up. And this is going to be in cooperation with the businesses and also our chief building inspector, which is Tom Horseman. The second key item was that the Amherst Township Fiscal Officer was provided a spreadsheet of the annual quantity of non-residential building code inspections and also the total revenue. Chris Kish has already provided that. I haven't forwarded that over to the mayor, but I think he'll be more comfortable because there's some discussion also, in addition to the occupancy permit, of long-term transitioning in our commercial building code inspections also. But obviously the city is going to want to know what the total revenue is and also the total activity. The reality is the mayor had indicated his preference is that the activity not be at a high level because he doesn't want to get to the point where it requires the addition of an employee so they can actually utilize any unutilized capacity of the existing department. And then the third item was when we have some of the previous two, and actually even though one was one, there's two items in there for our fire prevention officer. But when we have that information, as the Amherst Township trustees are to schedule a meeting between our current township building code inspector, Tom Horseman, and fire prevention officer, Chris Nyhart, and develop a plan of providing occupancy permits to the businesses that do not currently have those permits. So that's where it is. I just formalized that, and more so, Denny, so that you have it as, you know, you're driving this forward. And I don't know, David, if I missed anything on there.
No, that I don't think so.
Okay, then we'll move on to roads, parks, and cemetery. Superintendent Smarsh.
For the cemetery and parks, we've been on leaves. We've had a nice dry spell here where we've been getting leaves, getting them ground up, so that's been working out good. We did do a small spell of potholes, but we got to get back out there, which will be into Thursday and Friday, to definitely make another round there. For the project across the road for the camera on the yard waste, Butchko is supposed to be there. They've already started with conduit up to the first pole, but then they're supposed to trench from that first pole all the way to the end, and they're hoping to be there for Thursday. If not Thursday, they'll be there Friday. And I've talked with Victor. He had a little bit of concern about when they come up the pole for what he needs, but I've talked with him and Butchko with that, and we got that straightened all out. So that's a good deal there. And Barnes is going to be in for the week of Thanksgiving to grind the yard waste pile. They'll get that ground in that week. They hope to have it hauled away completely, but if it's not completely hauled away that week, then possibly one day for the next week, but that shouldn't interfere with any leftover, say, yard waste for this fall to be hauled all the way to the back. But yeah, the leaves been grinding up nice because of the dryness, so
Yeah.
everything's looking pretty good as of today.
I notice my neighbor mows almost every day to mulch up his leaves.
It does work out. I mean, you know, with the grinding, then you don't really have to haul, and I mean,
Right.
you stay on it. It works out nice.
Yeah, it makes it a lot easier for him, but
The dirt for the pavilion has been slayed out and shaped. We have the pavilion seeded and strawed. We've watered it twice now. I'll let it go for the rains for tomorrow. But I definitely keep my eyeballs on it to keep the leaves off, which we have been. And I think the seeding and the straw for the pavilion, the new pavilion, I think we're in good shape there.
good. I'll have to get down and see that. Did you have a whole lot of rubble or roots and junk to pull out of that?
I had a full backhoe. Bucket of roots, but it wasn't nowhere near as bad as I actually thought it was going to be. It ended up turning out nice.
Okay, good. Yeah, the soil looked good. I was just seeing all those roots.
Yeah, it worked out nice.
Okay, are there any questions for Kevin?
Nope.
David, that time frame of the week of Thanksgiving will work as far as the grant, the solid waste grant?
As long as we get the invoice and get it paid, so I can get a copy and the completion report by the 15th of December.
Okay, and Barnes is going to be able to get, I'm sure they want to get paid, but the sooner they can get it in.
He said if he could get here early, he will. He said he wouldn't be any later than that of the week of Thanksgiving. He said we definitely would have a bill.
Okay, because December 15th isn't a whole lot of time, and as you're aware, we didn't have to approve it, or we've got to have a special meeting.
I pushed that issue with him. He understood.
Okay. Thanks, Kevin. All right, well, at this time, if you look in your packet, there's two items dealing with the roads. The first one was the prepared resolution declaring it necessary to levy a tax in excess of the 10 mil limitation. This is our existing 1 mil levy that's expiring, and we had already passed a resolution requesting the county auditor to provide what the current tax valuation is on this property. There is a copy of that in your packet. The estimate is for the total tax valuation of the subdivision used in, for all the properties in the unincorporated area of the township, so just the road district. This doesn't include the northern portion of the village of South Amherst, which is still a part of Amherst Township. But that total is now at $134,237,880. I'm not used to working with numbers that large. So that's the current valuation. So the next step is we have to literally pass the resolution requesting that this go on the ballot. So I'm going to skip all the whereases, and now therefore be it resolved by the trustees of the Township of Amherst, State of Ohio, Section 1, it is necessary to levy a renewal tax levy in excess of the 10 mil limitation for the benefit of Amherst Township Road District for the purpose of the general construction, reconstruction, resurfacing, and repair of streets, roads, and bridges in Amherst Township Road District pursuant to Ohio Revised Code Section 5705.19G at a rate not to exceed 1 mil for each $1 of valuation, which amounts to 10 cents for each $100 of valuation for a period of 5 years, with a levy upon the 2021 tax duplicate for collection in 2022. Said renewal levy is to be submitted to the electorate at the May 4th, 2021 election. Section 2, the fiscal officer of this Board of Trustees of Amherst Township be and is hereby directed to certify a copy of this resolution to the auditor in the Board of Elections of Lorain County, Ohio, no later than 4:00 p.m. of February 3rd, 2021, and notify said Board of Elections to cause notice of the election on the question of levying said tax to be given as required by law. The rest is boilerplate, but that'll be my motion.
A second.
Okay, and in terms of discussion, this is when Chris is back and she's got plenty of time to get this to the auditor's office. The auditor will provide a second certification, and then Chris will take both certifications from the auditor plus this resolution to the Board of Elections. Hopefully they'll be willing to take that by email, but in any case, at that point, they'll then finalize that language, which they usually send back to the township for approval before they actually start printing up ballots. So if there's no other discussion, roll call, Georgianne?
Lynch,
Yes?
Burek,
Yes.
Abraham.
Yes.
And then if you can provide the number on that?
11,320.
11-3.
20. Okay.
Okay, and the next item, I've actually provided this before, but Linda and Kevin finished up with the road projects for our grant request of Ohio Public Works Commission funding in round 35, which will be projects in 2022. And it's just to put on your schedule that the executive committee and the integrating committee will be meeting on January 8th. I mean, this is much later than we typically do this, but this is, again, all because of the coronavirus pandemic. It doesn't give the details here as far as location, but they typically meet at the Carlisle Township Fire Department. I assume that's where they're going to meet again on January 8th. As of right now, I know I'm available at that time also, but that's where you'll actually see the scoring that they've done on these particular projects and whether our projects will get funded or not for the residents of Amherst Township. Okay, Township Administrator Linda Ashley.
One thing that I want to bring before you, the board this evening is that we did meet with a representative from Spectrum Telephone, or Spectrum Internet and Wi-Fi, the cable company. If we change our phone system from CenturyLink, which we currently have, over to Spectrum, we'll save ourselves approximately $100 a month, which would be like $1,200 a year. We also have a cell phone that a little flip phone that we have in Remy's office that we are using solely to forward calls to his personal cell phone. We would get rid of that at the time. She said we could forward through with the Spectrum. So that would save us an additional $26.08 a month. I put down here a little comparison chart for you. CenturyLink, we're paying anywhere from $238 to $251, which includes fees and taxes of $20. That's what we're paying per month. Spectrum will be $120 a month plus the fees. So if you add another 20, it's like $140. So that's where our $100 savings is. On the internet, currently we're paying $84.99. We would keep the same internet. She told us it would go down $10, but the paperwork that she sent did not have it reduced. So I did put a call into the representative, and I've not heard back from her. I'm anticipating that to go down to $75.99 instead of the $84.99. And the cell phone, as I said, the $26.08 would be gone. So if you look at the totals, the cost for CenturyLink currently is like $349.74, including the phones, the internet, and the cell phone. Through Spectrum, it would be $204.96. I'm not asking for an answer right now. I still have a lot of questions for this representative. I just want you guys to know what we're working on, trying to come up with some cost savings here for the township in any way that we can. And this has been something that we've been looking into for a while, and Denny and I had discussed it quite a few months ago, and the representative at that time did not call me back, so this one at least did come in and meet with us.
Well, right now, on the face of what you have, it looks good, Linda.
That's what we were thinking, just, on the cost savings alone. But as I said, we still have a few questions to ask about all these numbers. They're supposed to be portable numbers where we can have CenturyLink switch them to Spectrum. We'll still keep our same phone numbers. She was talking 4 lines rather than right now we currently have 5. So we may have to discontinue one of the lines. We're thinking about it, but we're trying to figure out all the logistics in that. We don't use, typically during the day, we don't get many calls on our office calls or our office phones. If we do, there might be 2 that come in at the same time. Typically, we only, like the lights on there, I only see 1 that lights up. If it's not me, it's like Kevin or Remy. But I use my cell phone for a lot of the calls. I know Kevin does, I know Remy does. So we might be able to take away one of the phone numbers, which would save us.
I think with the availability of the cell phones,
Right.
That makes sense.
And
Okay.
like, you trustees even call me on my cell phone. You rarely call me on the office phone.
Yeah. There's, just to keep in mind, because there will be some discussion with the prosecutor in executive session coming up on the logistics of a public hearing we're going to be required to have in regards to some litigation, that we're going to go through a test run on that, and we don't want any change. Once we do that test run, you know, it's whoever the internet provider is at that
Right.
time and the communication provider, we don't want any change again that would cause a
Right, that's
difficulty.
understandable. And this isn't anything that's gonna happen like right away, because as I said, there's a lot of questions that we still have. I'd like probably the representative to come back in. We can sit face to face, which would include Chris. So this is probably something that we're probably looking at January, I'm guessing.
Okay.
This is something like broadband, and it's not something via internet phone service?
For the phone service, you know what, I am not 100% sure. It's whatever the Spectrum offers on the phone service. And I apologize,
will
I
be through
am
the
not real
cable.
savvy on this either.
It'll be through their cable, definitely,
Yeah, it'll be
versus
the broadband.
central and
Is it
fiber.
gonna be
Right.
tied to the internet, or just through the broadband? That would be the question.
And it'll be, because we have internet currently through Spectrum, so it will be the same internet. I believe we have like 200 megabytes of the internet.
So my question is, how secure is it?
It's
Your line?
the internet will not change at all. It's the same thing that we have.
No, how secure is it? That's what I'm asking. How secure is the line as opposed to the landline?
How
Is it
secure is
something that could be
the
hacked
phone lines on
into, or-
Spectrum?
Is it something that could be hacked into, or it's completely independent of the internet? That's what I'm asking, that's all.
I don't know, but I don't know what, I mean, for people listening in on phone calls, is that what you're asking?
Well, in theory, somebody could hack in through the phone line if it's via the internet. That's what I'm asking, that's what I'm asking.
Oh, okay.
How secure is it? That's what I'm,
Well, I guess my question is, like, you're wondering about somebody hacking in and listening on calls because we don't have any, there's no,
because it's via internet, leave you vulnerable to some kind of security breach.
right, the internet's as secure as what we have now. And we all have, like, virus protection on our computers.
What kind of television do you have at home, David?
What kind?
Yeah, manufacturer.
Samsung, I think.
Are you aware that they can keep track of what you're watching unless you specifically go in and turn it off?
How are they gonna do that?
They already do it. I'm just pointing it
Not
out, the
connected to
concern on
anything.
security. I'm pulling your chain, but okay.
Not
Well, you're
connected.
gonna continue looking at this then. All right, thanks, Linda. Was there anything else?
No, it's just Medicare time that's underway, and I've had a couple residents reach out as far as Medicare, so I'm trying to do that and
Okay.
cares and everything.
And I didn't have you print out the new table and spreadsheets for the CARES Act fund. I wanted to stay away from that at this meeting, so that we could spend more time on this executive session. Plus, I wasn't sure if that much has occurred.
Yeah.
Uh,
Chris and I are still gonna have to get together. That was the plan. It's just gonna be way delayed a little bit, to make sure that what I have in paperwork, what she has in
Right.
paperwork are the same. Just from some of the numbers that you said today, I don't know that we are at the same place.
Yeah.
I have more spending than what you've
Right.
stated today.
Oh, I know that. That's where I said she's gonna have to transfer some because she may have taken them out of other accounts before this was set up.
Right.
And some of that, she's got to explain what she's doing, that's to make things easier. We still have, just so that we'll have it formalized to facilitate the audits, is like the technology that's here with the cameras so we can conduct the meetings remotely is, and then also the laptops and the software to work from home is, that we're moving forward, and that's already happening. We're probably going to do separate resolutions, which will be somewhat after the fact. We passed motions to continue forward with this. We encumbered the funds, but we never formalized that in a resolution that has all the detail. Because again, we don't want someone, down the road here a year from now trying to scratch their head and figure out exactly what happened. And as you find out in any project, things change as you're moving along, whether it's that equipment's no longer available, that a technology consultant first said was there, whether it's a contractor running into stone or hard heads or, whatever. Things come up that weren't anticipated. So, those resolutions will come also, and hopefully that'll help in keeping all of this lined
Yeah,
up.
I have all the resolutions that we currently have, all the invoices, estimates, paperwork, whatever, with those resolutions. So if there's any question, we've got all the
It's all in
supporting
one spot.
document with it.
Good. Yeah, because they being the Ohio Township Association, County Commissioners Association, Office of Budget Management, they kept emphasizing it over and over. It was like a mantra. They'd say document, document, document. So I'm hoping that ours is as clean as can be and documented, very
And
well
as you
for
said, 2
future
years
audit.
down the road, we don't know, we're not gonna remember.
Right. Yeah, you just can't. I can't even remember what happened yesterday sometimes, but, okay. Are there any
Excuse
other
me,
questions
yeah.
for Linda?
Yes,
Yeah.
just because we was on the subject, the system that we have now, David, do you know how secure the system is that we have now?
What's that?
As a
Phone system.
yeah, as in being, breach to it. Do you know how secure that is now?
As far as a landline, I suppose there's ways around everything.
I was just wondering if you knew how it was.
So you think the NSA's listening right now? Have their PRISM program going? Does anyone remember
We already know
that?
this place is bugged.
Right.
Yeah, we're going to be calling the prosecutor here shortly for an executive session. I wonder how many others are listening. But okay, we've covered the items that we need to cover. So I'm just going to open up to the trustees for the other items on the agenda that you have specific responsibility for. Is there anything to bring forward?
I have nothing right now.
Okay. And at this point, is there a need for any executive session?
No.
Well, you
I
have a
wonder why I
need,
have
don't you?
1119.
You have a need.
Why did I put that down there? Let me check. Did we already schedule that?
11:19.
I don't know why I put that on there.
Township Association meeting that night. Lorraine County Township Association.
Yeah, I can't even tell you, Georgianne, because I didn't have it in my notes of our last meeting. We had to wait till we had those items pulled together before we'll schedule another meeting with Tom Horstman and Chris Nyhart. So I'm just going to cross that off at this point in time. I don't know why that was put on there, but I don't see anything scheduled on my schedule here. Okay, well, with that, there is a need for an executive session. Two items for sure, but just in the event that another item comes up that David and I had an executive session at the last meeting in regard to personnel, and this would be training of additional individuals for certain roles that would affect compensation, that we may actually do that just to bring Denny up to speed as a discussion that Dave and I had. So I'm going to make a motion that the trustees enter into executive session for 121.22G. It's going to be three separate sections here. It would be G3, which is conferences with an attorney for the public body concerning disputes involving the public body. And we're going to end up getting our legal counsel on the phone for this. And with that one, I'm actually going to want, I guess you can all stay, I wouldn't need you for that one, Kevin. The next item is for G8, to consider confidential information related to marketing plans and specific business strategy, and that's really just going to be the trustees and Remy for that one. And the one I missed was actually G1, is the one to consider the appointment, employment, promotion, demotion, compensation of a public employee. I probably did that in the wrong order, Georgianne. It'll be 121.22 G1, G3, and G8.
Okay, I will second.
Roll call Lynch,
Yes.
Burek,
Yes.
Abraham.
Yes.
And that will be at 7:41.
And really, Kevin, I'm not sure, unless you've got something to button up, you don't really have to stay here. Okay. Okay. Yeah, because it really doesn't impact you. And the one with Consolidated, you're already aware of what's going on in the roads and everything there. Okay, I'm going to make a motion that we return from executive session to the regular meeting at 8:43 p.m.
Second.
Hang on just a second.
Second.
Lynch,
Yes?
Burek,
Yes.
Abraham.
Yes.
Okay, are there any other items to bring forward?
I have nothing at this time.
All right, then our next regular meeting will be on Tuesday, November 24th at 7 o'clock p.m. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
I'll
What was-
second.
What was that,
November
date?
24th.
November 24th?
These 2 days before Thanksgiving, correct?
Ready for roll call?
Yep.
Burek,
Yes.
Lynch,
Yes.
Abraham.
Yes.
I'm gonna read